you just heard here is the disgustingness that validates what I was saying. Listen, it's so disgusting and it's sad to understand that there are people who are involved in a program where they torture children and still, on top of that, try to play the game like they protect kids. This noise that you just heard is this trashy low life the government contract around you. This low life around you are just the bottom feeders in this program that these governmental entities contract to kind of torment the target individual. This little kid that you just heard was learning how to sound like he's kissing or kissing. He's like, "Mwah, mwah," and you can hear in the background a woman training that child to do that noise. It was so disgusting. And the reason why he was doing that, or they were trying to make this child do that, is because as they do that noise, they will stimulate me. I'm supposed to think that these people here involved in a program where some of them get a salary or whatever incentive in something where kids are being tortured. This woman's face says it all. It is insane to think that they still have this, they still can believe that they look like anything but a program that even harm babies. Matter of fact, she says that in Spanish. And she's a Spanish speaker, but she's an American citizen who was born in Puerto Rico and today lives in Washington and works day in and day out to help target individual. And she says there that children are being tortured. Babies are being tortured. There's a lawsuit where there's a 3-year-old toddler being tortured. She helped file that lawsuit. You're going to hear the testimony of a child called HF. Well, they give the acronym of the child in the lawsuit. And she's described as a 3-year-old toddler, the daughter of Devin Fraley. And described the everyday torture of a 3-year-old toddler. Now, the people around me, some of them are human trash. These people who can have their own babies be involved in this and do these disgusting things is so sad. The reason why they were doing the mwah, mwah is because today I just made a video where there's like this adorable little girl try to dance. It's taking it very seriously, like a baby, like just to learn to walk. I was like, I will never think that this is something that I experience naturally. They are playing with the brain, and everybody knows that. The best part is like, they're like, oh, they believe us. Like, really? They believe that people who just happen to be involved in something where children are being tortured, where people have killed next door neighbors, where there's mass shootings of target individual saying that, hey, I rather die than... It's so over. The thing is, like, they can't even make me believe that I'm so much of a genius that can see the clear obviousness that is surpassing obviousness. That the same people who will harm children in this way, why the reason why this woman will make that face, happen to be the same people who are just protecting little girls and little boys or babies. And they will not manipulate the brain in these disgusting ways when they can clearly even torture children. It is so real. I can't wait to face them to see, like, who you think looks like they harm children? Who looks like they're a danger to children here? As this woman showed this face. People who can be in the hallway, have their kids making this noise campaign. They just open the door and start making this noise campaign. Why? Because as this kid was doing this noise, they'll stimulate me. And I think I just made a video where I'm like, to think that I was subscribed to a little baby dancing like that, having forced experience of that nature, that I would ever think that is something that's done without being manipulated. Matter of fact, they not only they want me to think I'm not being manipulated, but even if I'm being manipulated, it's manipulated in a way that pairs. I was like, what? Whatever ways you're changing my brain to experience that, you have to change my brain, and that's because you're involved in something where they torture babies. And when you have your kids in the hallway making, let me just say this again. The man that she's trying to make the kid make a kiss noise. Why? Because they're trying to bring up something that didn't actually happen that way when I was a kid. To make me think that today, as an adult with an adult brain, what they're doing is they're mimicking my adult brain to be my brain when I was not an adult. That the people who torture children to the point where this woman make the face that you're seeing here are doing a research that protects children. She walked away like she sounded like these people. I love the way they live in this bubble that it's so easy to burst. And I love to be the one always to be like, okay, you burst my organs, I'll burst something else for you, don't worry. And you're gonna hear that. You hear that even in this trashiness. You should see what the way this woman looks like, huh? Oh God. It looks like she would do something like that. It was disgusting. Matter of fact, sometimes it goes as far as like they're gonna make it look like the child that you hear is my child. And this child mother is not even an adult. It's so sad. It's disgusting. Because unfortunately, I've accepted the reality of my health, the way my health is looking. I don't expect to stay alive for a long time. They have destroyed my body. But these people, you can clearly hear, they don't sound like they're dying. To throw their life away. To even throw the life of this poor kid that's being taught how to make this noise. What's this? Is sad. They need to take these kids away from these people. They need to remove these children away from these people. These people don't deserve to be parents. They're not responsible enough to be parents. They don't have the foresight to be parents. They're just benefiting from what they can benefit from today. And they're willing to even compromise the youngest of their children in this way. And by the way, they really think it's looking like they're not the one torturing children. For me, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna record you in your purest, retarded, disgusting form that you are. Whatever you did it to somebody who was already gone away, who was already not in the great, that things were over, but you lost so much more that you ever gained from being involved in this. And I love to live day in and day out to say the obvious. Sound like I'm a prophet to say the obvious thing. If this is my purpose, I will. Now, that face of this woman tells you everything you need to know about this program. Now you're gonna hear that the same trash are involved in something where they torture women and children. You're gonna hear men who killed neighbors, killed co-workers, because he was tired of being tormented and tortured via this technology. Then you go hear how they are mean to children. Yes, this trash that was teaching her child or his child to try to make a kiss noise. Because that should have made me accept this manipulation and think that it's part of the pairing of the trash ass. Talking me just stay strong. Do not internalize this trashy retardation. I mean, obviously it's easy to see this for what it is. Purely just stupidity implemented, input in your brain to make you acceptive of this disgusting manipulation. Hearing a voice of a little child should make you accepting of this manipulation. The child couldn't even make the kiss noise. That's how young the kid is. He's like, mwah, mwah, mwah. Then you hear this clown like, it's your child. It's your child. Poor kid. Poor kid. They need to remove that kid from whatever situation he's in right now. This kid is unfortunately straight from birth. He's just growing in a terrible environment where they're even willing to sell the poor kid for something that's just gonna, it's not even worth his life. Listen to the horrible things they do to children, and listen to how they want me to think that they're not doing the same to me.
Y que puedan conseguir tratamiento médico para mejorar las condiciones que estas armas y estos criminales del gobierno que devengan un sueldo para torturar personas inocentes, incluyendo niños, para que estas personas paguen, ¿no?
Who is charged with a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, that you can pull for your writing analysis. Key delusional beliefs. He believed he was a targeted in. I can't give you the full manifesto itself. Who is charged with a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, that you can pull for your writing analysis. Key delusional beliefs. He believed he was a targeted in. I can't give you the full manifesto itself, but I can walk you through what's in it and what kinds of delusions it shows. Here's a structured summary based on court-described excerpts and reporting. Number 1. Overall context. Stephen Marlowe is accused of a quadruple homicide in Butler Township, Ohio, August 2022. In the months before the shootings, he wrote a long manifesto describing what he believed was happening to him mentally and spiritually. And the Dayton Daily Lash News. Psychologists and the court treat this manifesto as evidence of entrenched delusional beliefs, not of anything real. Number 2. Core delusional themes. A. Global terror network and targeted individual. In the manifesto, he claims he is the victim of a global terror network that attacks people using advanced psychological telepathic methods. Dayton Daily News. Key elements of that belief. He sees himself as a targeted individual, someone singled out for mind control abuse. X, formerly Twitter, ordinary people around him, neighbors, possibly co-workers, etc., are reinterpreted as part of this network. B. Telepathic ventriloquism. This is the phrase you picked up on. In the manifesto and related descriptions, He says attackers use telepathic ventriloquism to project voices and thoughts into his mind. Dayton Daily News. He believes his thoughts are not private. Others can speak through him, like a ventriloquist using a dummy. The voices can manipulate his emotions, impulses, and decisions. This fits clinical patterns of thought insertion, belief that thoughts are being put into your mind by an outside force, auditory hallucinations reframed as telepathy, delusions of control, believing one's actions or feelings are being controlled by others. C. Neighbours as sleeper agents. He fixates on people near his parents' home. He claims that some neighbours are part of the terror network and effectively sleeper agents used to harass or attack him telepathically. Dayton Daily News. The victims of the shooting, who had no normal conflict-type relationship with him, get cast in his mind as key perpetrators in this invisible conspiracy. The stream of abuse and psychological impact. He describes his experience as a constant, inescapable stream of verbal and emotional abuse through the voices. He writes that it is impossible to just ignore the voices and that there is no defence, no stopping it. Dayton Daily News. He links this to the collapse of his trading career, ruined relationships, Here's a summary of the known facts about how Stephen Marlowe allegedly carried out the killings of the victims, as publicly reported. Some details remain unclear or under investigation. What we do know, the incident occurred on August 5th, 2022 in the Butler Township near Dayton, Ohio. Dayton victims were Sarah Anderson, age 41, Dayton Daily News. Her daughter, Kayla Anderson, age 15, Dayton Daily News. Clyde Knox, age 82, Dayton Daily News. His wife, Sally Knox, 78, Dayton Daily News. Marlowe lived nearby with his parents on Haverstraw Avenue, and the victims were his neighbours. Dayton Daily News. Police found the victims fatally shot at multiple crime scenes in a residential area. ABC News. In video evidence introduced in court, one scene shows Marlowe walking up with a gun in his hand towards Sarah Anderson, who was on the phone, then shooting her. He walked into the home where Kayla Anderson was and shot her. He then exited via the garage and fired a second shot at Sarah while she was on the ground. WIO TV7 and W8YO Radio. After the shootings, Marlowe fled the state. He was later captured in Kansas. Dayton Daily News. What is not fully clear, the exact motive remains uncertain, though Marlowe's delusional belief system, voices, mind control conspiracies, is heavily referenced in court records. Dayton Daily News. The precise method of how he gained access to each home, whether forced entry, unlocked door, etc., is not fully publicly detailed in the sources I found. The type model of gun used has not been clearly disclosed in the publicly available summary articles. Whether the homes were entered via doors, garages, or other entry points, in all cases, is not fully specified.
I could not have asked for a better family. What you cannot comprehend is that we have been attacked by this weapon our entire lives, and the attack against me personally is one of the most vicious attacks a human being has ever faced. I have tolerated the most inhumane torture in hopes that the FBI and CIA would come to my defense, but they have failed to come to my aid. My only hope is that you come to understand what has happened here. When the world realizes what has happened, there will be justice, but I cannot sit by and be a victim any longer, and I refuse to sit by and do nothing while my nieces and nephews and the rest of my family are operated on with mind control. Our thoughts are not private. It is disgusting and it is cruel. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history. I want to be very clear, this will not be an active shooting event. I will be executing some of the people responsible for activating shooters. If I happen to survive, please visit me in prison, if only to see the same man you have always known, rather than the victim of some mental disorder that does not exist. What you may not understand is that I will gladly die to expose this, and I will gladly die to help one other victim discover the truth of what has happened. If I can help another targeted individual fight back against telepathy, then the sacrifice will be well worth it. To any TIs who read this, understand that your attackers use the form of ventriloquism I describe in the paper to move your thoughts, but your thoughts can also move their mouths. To my friends in Chicago, Lexington, Dayton, and all over the world, get this email out to everyone you know. The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings, and if you ever learn the truth, you will understand what I did here to protect myself and my family. Get this out to other TIs, other voice hearers, so the world has a chance to fight back.
And you is not your thought insertion, memory manipulation, memory insertion. You feel like your mind and your body is not yours, it's just being controlled by some asshole. Your emotions, everything, and you would see that, you know, street theater, noise campaigns, Voice to Skull, they do a pretty good job of intertwining everything. But to an outsider's point of view, they're just gonna see you as they do. It's just whatever. Waiting for people. Once you get a job, you do the same shit over and over. You know, whatever accomplishment. I'm just going on tangents right now. I have no clear outline. All I know is that I gotta make this video. I gotta send it out because I've been waiting for the right moment to make a video on this topic. But there's never gonna be a right moment. You know. Yeah. All I can say that whoever organization is behind this, or whatever criminal governmental organization, it's very, very uniform. Every country you go to, it's the same tactics. That's all I can say. It's very uniform. It's the same tactics everywhere you go. You know, whatever country you go to, you do the same shit over and over. Whatever accomplishments you have, they'll try and discredit you at everything. Humiliation too. Humiliation. Rituals, whatever. Embarrassment. I have no idea why they do what they do. It's just whatever. And these thoughts, these fucking disgusting ass thoughts. And if you're a target individual, you know what I'm talking about these thoughts that are being fucking inserted into your head. It's disgusting. And it's horrible.
Gun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people: mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane.
Even presidents get
throw these people at them to terrorize.
Something other than a store. The trickery really is the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions. I observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe
and have had
Yeah. So, we've spoken a few times. I'm going through the same thing. Our situations are a little different. So I have the full-blown artificial telepathy. You're definitely receiving broadcasts because I've seen it in your photos. And, isn't it strange that sometimes you could feel some type of way that's not your feelings?
Yeah, they do that a lot. Can project anger, fear, and weird feelings. They can do pretty much anything that has access to the brain or to the mind.
Right.
Not just me, I have children, and so my children are able to say certain things, like they can feel certain things.
Right.
Zaps on their body.
Yes, here's a filing-grounded, reportive case file summary of Devon Delaney Fraley and HF, with specific places you can verify each point in the accessible appellate petition materials, which reproduce key parts of the operative complaint. I'm going to rely most heavily on the Supreme Court appendix because it includes the relevant complaint excerpts verbatim, including the Fraley HF paragraphs, and is publicly accessible. 1. Where Fraley and HF appear across the litigation record. A district court complaint excerpts in the Supreme Court appendix. The Supreme Court appendix contains the complaint section titled Devin Delaney Fraley and the follow-on paragraphs about HF starting immediately after that heading. B. Fifth Circuit Appeal, March 8, 2024. The Fifth Circuit opinion caption lists Devin Delaney Fraley and HF among the plaintiff's appellants. Notably, it labels JD and LM as a minor, but does not print a minor after HF in that caption line. C. Supreme Court Petition, July 23, 2024. The petition's petitioner list includes Devin Delaney Fraley and then separately lists HF, a minor. It also includes a note explaining that after an amended complaint was filed, the minor daughter of petitioner Fraley was added as a claimant. Number 2, Fraley's allegations, what she claims happened to her. In the complaint excerpt, as reproduced in the appendix, Fraley alleges in substance she was nominated included in a TSDB subcategory, NS McCarthy blacklist, without notice and without an opportunity to rebut. She alleges she has suffered physical, electronic surveillance and organised stalking as part of being targeted. She alleges that around 2016, her targeting increased and she began experiencing artificial tinnitus and V2K continuously. She alleges directed energy weapon, DW attacks causing burns, including to her feet and genital area. She alleges the DW attacks caused symptoms she characterises as indicative of Havana syndrome, described as permanent brain and physical injuries. She alleges social, professional, personal repercussions, including suffering, anxiety and loss, and requests remedies including removal from the TSDB and damages. That is the core Fraley-specific symptom set and theory as pled in the excerpted complaint text. 3. HF's allegations, what Fraley claims happened to the child. In the same reproduced complaint excerpt, the filing describes HF as Fraley's daughter and a toddler, specifically referred to as 3-year-old. The text uses 3-year-old daughters, but the context is HF as the single minor plaintiff child. The allegations about the child's symptoms are described as after the filing of the complaint, HF allegedly began showing signs of DVTK, and because she is incapable of verbalizing, Fraley says she inferred symptoms through behavioral changes, including irritability, slamming her head against the floor, extremely high body temperature upon waking, among others. The allegations about ongoing harm include alleged irritability, anguish, sweating, pain, and suffering every day, with asserted unknown damages to the child's developing brain. The allegations about why the child is in the case include the complaint excerpt alleges the defendants added HF to the TSDB in retaliation for her mother being a plaintiff, emphasizing the child's toddler status and asserted lack of any basis for being treated as a threat. Nach 4. Procedural posture as it relates to them, how later filings frame it. The Fifth Circuit opinion describes the plaintiffs collectively as alleging being targeted and injured with directed energy weapons and voice-to-skull technology, and it addresses jurisdiction procedural issues around dismissal and preliminary injunction, not individualized facts per plaintiff. The Supreme Court petition reiterates the case history and notes that the minor daughter of petitioner Fraley was added after an amended complaint. The petition's petitioner list explicitly identifies HF as a minor. Hammer 5.
It's linguistic programming.
Son.
Honest, that is what has driven me to this.
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane.
You do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War. You can call it a eugenics program even. But also walk them to their... They want to see if they can... Hyper game theory. How do you... They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you. They're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and form of torture. They coordinate the voice. I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed.
In my mind, I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to me and my family. Ben said the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continue. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I used able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Be my guess that this person developed.
We're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's. So they'll say we're the the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
Because fusion centers, they really don't have like a statutory authority. They just popped up after 9/11, and that's where a lot of people that have absolutely no idea of civics believe that it's okay. They are told, oh, this person is a terrorist or this person is a pedophile, because that's another thing that they do with targeted individuals. And so they throw these people at them to terrorize and, follow them and just do all sorts of horror, slash their tires, do horrible things,
Hold on.
Resarcimiento y que puedan conseguir tratamiento médico para mejorar las condiciones que estas armas y estos criminales del gobierno que devengan un sueldo para torturar personas inocentes, incluyendo niños, para que estas personas paguen, ¿no?
Because that day, that was one of the first hearings I went to. And that day, I forgot to bring my flyers with me. I did bring my cards, but I forgot to bring the flyers because I didn't know I was going to be able to see them. And I just blurted out and I said, little girls are being microwaved by the CIA. And he was eyes, and we have children as young as 3 years old that are hearing voices. They have implanted dreams, very violent and some in sexual nature. It to children, they're implanting children with atrocious dreams, many of them of a sexual nature. And